What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Life of the Lost. I'm Sam.
And I'm Megan.
And this week's episode is sponsored by Brown Lab Media. Brown Lab Media is a creative community helping to promote and create original content, personal brands, businesses, or anything media related by people of color. So when you have a chance, feel free to check them out. The link is www.brownlabmedia.com. All right, moving on to this week's episode. I don't know what it's going to be about, but why don't you explain it for us?
All right, so this is the second time we're trying to film this, and the first time I was just really embarrassed. And I think you brought up a really good point on how sometimes I hold myself as if like somebody's, I don't know, like, yeah, you made that good point of it being like a G-rated movie. Like, I just hold back so hard, and because I'm holding back, I'm not really able to explain what I'm really trying to say, and it just creates a lot of, like, inner turmoil. So when you're talking and I'm trying to say something back to you, it's not coming out, and it's like, it's a problem, and I think I feel, like, really intimidated, with you, because I feel like you're such a smart person, like, you know so many things and you can always correlate things together, and like, I love that. But in front of a camera, I feel so tiny, and like, oh my god, like at like a teacher, like, don't call on me, like, I mean, I know but I don't know, but like, I know but I don't want to tell it in front of the class. And I guess that's the best like analogy I can give, and so it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, I always hated having to get called on and stuff.
Me too. I'd always rehearse.
Yeah, it makes sense though, right? Because what you're trying to say is that you feel like the information that I know is more than the information that you know, which is how I felt, which is how you probably felt, which is I feel like there's a lot more better people who know how to read a lot more seamlessly than I do. So let me not make myself look like a fool trying to act or trying to like struggle at reading. But yeah, no, I understand.
But it's kind of funny because even going back to that, it's like, I remember when we were in class and like, like grade school, and you had to do that. They would say, okay, so in my class specifically, maybe we'd be sitting in a circle, and the next person, or they'd go down the line, the next person has to read the next sentence or the paragraph, and the next person to the next. So you could see ahead of the time, like which paragraph you're going to be on, right? And so I would count down. I'd be like, okay, so that person's going, then that person's going. All right, this one's going to be mine. And I'd practice it while everybody else is reading, and I just hope to God like it would take a little bit so I could keep practicing. But then by the time it got to me, yes, I knew what I was saying, but I had no idea what anybody else said. I had no idea the context of like what this book was even about, because I was so self-conscious on like how I was sounding to everybody. The concept of understanding or grasping this just didn't equate. And I feel like that a lot of the time, and it's just kind of like your head just being in the zone and being able to talk like freely and move about without kind of feeling hesitation, I guess, from yourself.
Yeah. Now that you say that, kind of comes, I kind of can see the correlation in you sometimes when for some reason you're focusing on something very, I guess, minute, right? Like in that perspective, it was your paragraph reading.
Yeah.
But to you, it wasn't minute. Like to me, it wouldn't have been, because it's just one paragraph, right? It's just one, like out of the whole book,
right,
out of the whole page. But, you're very like, I got to memorize this. And then you don't hear the other people. So then I guess like maybe if the teacher calls on you, you might not necessarily know what the book was really about. Which is interesting too, because in that retrospect, I didn't have the patience to do the math.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, might as well just listen to how good everyone else reads and watch me like just fall on my face. But
yeah, because I think that was the most embarrassing part for me is like,
yeah.
I would stutter and I would just kind of like forget the word, and I would just be looking up and looking down and like looking at the people looking at me, and it was just kind of like an uncomfortable feeling. But I think a lot of it too, kind of going off of it, is like, you have different groups of friends, right?
Yeah.
And in one group of friends, you might be the smart one, and the other group of friends, you might be, like quieter or whatever, it's just different maybe in each group. Maybe it's not, maybe other people, it's like whatever, you're seamless, you're the same. But for me, I have like a group of friends, and like I always feel like kind of like a leader role. Like they'll do kind of whatever I want to do. They're kind of like follow me. But then when I'm around you, I really look up to you. And so it's not maybe just trying to like appease you or please you, but it's also just trying to like, I'm always like learning so much from you. So I'm not necessarily the one always talking. I feel like a lot of the time I'm listening and trying to like correlate it and trying to understand the things you're saying and relate it to myself. And you do like such a good job at being patient and helping me understand, whether it's like relating something to a football analogy or whether it's taking the time and sitting down with a piece of paper and a pen and just kind of trying to teach me that way. And it's just interesting about, I guess, the people we hang out with and like that, the mentality and how you can grow that way and or not grow.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the compliments. No, I do take a lot of on the opposite side. I do take a lot of pride in trying to. I take it as a challenge to try and explain what it is that I'm understanding or what new thing I learned to you.
Yeah.
Because I think that learning is just as important as teaching. Mm-hmm. There's no sense of you learning all of these things if you can't teach it back to the other people.
Yeah.
And so that's like, so in factuality, it's kind of a kind of cool symbiotic relationship, which is, you know, you are very important and integral to the whole process of learning something.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you don't understand it, it's not your fault. I just failed at teaching at that time. Like I just didn't, but for whatever reason it was, I just couldn't convey the right you know, structure of words into sentences to kind of have you understand.
Yeah, but which is nice because you never leave it at that. You never let me not understand.
Yeah.
You just twist it.
Yeah, sometimes it gets a little tense because you're like, I don't get it. There's no point. And I'm like, listen. Listen to me, Linda.
Linda, listen, Linda.
But yeah.
It's funny because I can see frustration a little bit sometimes, but it doesn't last. It's not like, like I'm angry at you. It's just like, it's your brain and your gears ticking, kind of like, how can I explain this to her? And then you're like, your last resort is always, all right, give me a piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's hard to visualize sometimes, especially when it comes to like football or, I guess you'd be surprised, right? Like at what people are able to understand, but that's cool because it's like you're like even running further down the teaching process, right? Because that's why teachers, you know, they have a chalkboard, they have things to like kind of like, let's write this down, like let's see why this is related.
Yeah.
Let's have this like chart diagram and what's in it, not like we were talking about, you know, communism, capitalism, and socialism, right? Mm-hmm. How much easier would it have been if I had a chart and I showed what are the two, like, because you know the circle charts where there's like two classes, like what are the similarities in between, whatever those similarities are.
Yeah,
it's like low key like socialism, because it's like they're both kind of, because socialism is kind of like the in between of both the capitalism and communism.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but it's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to be able to kind of to understand things, and it's funny because maybe like a week or two ago, you listened to Creepypasta a lot.
Creepypastas.
Yeah, Creepypastas. Oh, is that the title with an S?
Creepypastas. Yeah, okay. I don't know where this term derived from, but it's just it's what you call like these audio or maybe book versions. Like, speaking of reading, I just don't really like reading. What's interesting is the same thing that you get with me, where it's like I'm talking and then you're just like, what did you say? That's how I am when I read. Yeah. I'm just like, what did I just read? Yeah. Like, I'm too busy just trying to, honestly, I'm just too busy trying to read the words. I'm just too busy trying to like, I'm much better at just when somebody tells me like, you know, what to do instead of like you're reading. But yeah, those are scary stories, creepypastas, and I don't know where the term derived from. But what were you saying about the creepypastas? Yeah, so you had sent me one, you're like, watch this or listen to it, and sometimes I don't like to listen to them because they're so long, and it's, for me, like, it's hard to sometimes envision something with but they do a really good job at like describing things. I'll give them that. And the ones that I send you, for everyone I send you, I listen to like 10. I'm not even kidding. Honestly, I'd say 20. I listen to 20 for every one that I send you. Yeah. So everyone I send you,
They're
is
good.
like really good.
Yeah.
So like I'm like, damn, she's benefiting so hard off these like all right ones, and then this like crazy one. But it doesn't matter to me, because the point is that like you, I want you to relate that kind of feeling that I get when I listen to it.
Yeah, because it always has a reason or a meaning behind it. It's like there's always some kind of big, like catastrophic mindset behind it that you kind of want to talk about afterwards. And it was funny because this last one, I knew you're going to come home and I knew you're going to ask about it, like if I listened to it. And this time, like I don't know if I wrote it down. I think I might have written it down because I was like, all right, I want to be ready. Like I want to be able to have a conversation about this because it's something that's important to you. So like, it's one thing listening to something and it's like, yeah, I heard it. And like, oh, what'd you think about it? Oh, yeah, it was good. But like, it's another thing being able to talk fluently about what you just heard, because you did end up questioning me, and you asked me like the top like 2 reasons of a reason something happened. And you're like, why that happened?
Do you want to know why? Because when I listened to, there's just one that I really would listen to that really, I don't know why I'm gravitating towards more than others, but it really hit me so deep, and it was just really. The premise was, it was just, a husband and his family went up to a house for the weekend. He rented a house because he got a new job, and he was really feeling really excited about it, and he wanted to treat his family to a nice summer weekend vacation by the beach. And so during that time, he spent the day at the water, and it was great. And then he came back to the house. He was going to teach his son how to make s'mores, and all of a sudden there's this knock at the door. He opens the door, and that's just kind of like this weird kind of guy. He had like this like dirty, like blonde, like long hair, and he looked very disheveled, but he's like, I didn't know anyone was going to be here. And he's like, well, we're here, so I was so sorry, like, can you please leave? And then he kind of just like, I don't mean to be rude, and I know this is really like out of left field, but like you need to go, because it's not safe for you here. And there's like, what are you talking about? You should leave. I'm gonna call the cops if you don't leave. Mm-hmm. And he pretty much just goes away, and he's like, all right, like if you want to stay, you stay, but I just know that I tried. He's like, all right, whatever, dude. And then pretty much what happened was like a storm came, a really crazy storm. It first started off like a normal storm, and then it got bigger and bigger into this really like mystical, like crazy storm. And the guy came back, and he's like, look, I can't leave. Like you got, I just, I can't, I have to I need to protect you guys. And he was like, okay, like the father was finally gave in. He's like, okay. Mm-hmm. What's going on? And he's like, yeah, something out there, and it's gonna kill you, as long as the rest of the people on wherever area you're in. And it was just wild, because like at the end, like he when the monster, it was like this huge monster in the storm, and he ends up being this not from this world. And he ends up being this like some Goku looking sounding guy, just really strong. And he just explained to him that it wasn't from this earth, and that he's been following it into your dimension. They're from another dimension. And it was just really awesome, because he's like fighting this thing, and he comes back, and he just gets pummeled by this thing. And then it's just the husband and the wife and the kid. He just lands right there, and then he's like looking at him, and he's all effed up. And the guy's like tearing, his wife's crying. He just looks at him in his eyes, and he's just like, yo, like save us. And for some reason, that guy just had this most calmest, most like loving feeling in his eyes. The guy described it like he had the most wonderful blue eyes. And he just clenched his fists, and he said, take care of your family. And he just jumped up, and it was just epic, and there was like fucking music, and it was just like crazy. And I'm just sitting there like at work, just like at my computer, just like I'm dead tearing. Like this was like, I don't know why it just hit me. The music, the score, the writing, it was just it was just a perfect storm, no pun intended, of just like this story. And I was just so infatuated. What do you like, in depth? Like I was just so involved in it. I don't know. And so I sent it to you.
Yeah.
And that's why I came home, and I was like, I wanted to know if you listened to it, because it hit me so hard. It hit me so freaking deep. And I wanted to know, if it didn't hit you deep, why the fuck not? Like, that's like, why? Like, sell me on why it didn't hit you deep. Because I
remember that one.
idea.
I'm gonna be real. You know what the one you sent me was?
Okay, I sent you a few. So
okay, maybe this was like a while ago, but the most recent one you sent me was about that guy, and he was sleeping, like kind of like a sleep paralysis thing.
Oh yeah, that was another one.
That's the one that hit me. The sleep paralysis.
That was like a one that was kind of like just doom and gloom. I don't know why. I just enjoy like the no happy ending.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why.
Yeah, that really left you thinking though. But I think it's good to think, just like last episode, like last week we were talking about death and, you know, these variables and these things that, you know, not a lot of people like to talk about. But it's good to see different kind of perspectives, and how it ended is there wasn't a final like finale. It wasn't necessarily a happy ending there. This giant event that happened to him prior just kind of was there, and it was coming again, and he had no control over it, and he had to choose to either kind of live his life or, I mean, that was it. That was the only thing he could do, is live his life.
Yeah, pretty much. Just to elaborate, the universe had already exploded.
Yeah.
And he was living in echoes of what the universe once was. And the guy, the sleep paralysis, the dream eater, whatever.
Yeah.
He was saying that, you know, all right, I'll go away now, but I'll be back. And it was scary because, like you were saying, like he just forgot about it. But every once, like in a while, he'll look out the window and he'll see that same person just standing right out of peripheral. It's not peripheral because that's behind. It's like right out of like the vision of his sight, and he just knew it was there. And when he ever saw that dread of just knowing what that thing told him, which is just the earth there's nothing left, and you're just a fragment, a shade. You are just a shade of what humanity once was, and that just like I just love that. I don't know why.
That's so creepy, kind of thinking about things like that. I guess it leads kind of back to signs, and like believing in signs. So every time he saw that, do you think that he was reminded of all of the things he had?
Well, he was reminded of reality, I think.
But I guess it could remind you of something good, though, too, because knowing that it's all kind of already ended, to just appreciate everything that you have.
That's true, too. That is true. I didn't even think about it that way.
Because I guess, like, when my grandpa died, a while back, it's been about 10 plus years.
I'm like, wait, your grandpa's
no,
not dead.
I know, you never met him. It was like 10 plus years ago. But when I was in college, throughout my college, I was driving back and forth between maybe just a half an hour, back and forth, 45 minutes. And there was this one time, I swear, I saw him. And I would see him, like, frequently, like, the back of his head. And it would kind of just, like, bring me back to reality that he's gone. Sometimes bring me into, like, sometimes I thought I was crazy because I thought that, okay, like, that's not possible. Like, in following this car around, like, that's not, until I can see, like, this person's face and, like, just clarify that it's not him, because it was just such a eerie feeling. But I guess it kind of brought me back to just good memories. And so just kind of looking at signs and kind of wondering what they mean sometimes. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it, like, there wasn't a sign of anything, but I guess it's just kind of interesting to think about.
No, I mean,
because I know you don't necessarily believe in, like, signs.
Yeah, I do to a certain extent. Like I was like, speaking of that, like one thing I was thinking of was that story I told you about Carl Sagan and the 3D to what's a 2D, like a 2D image, like their flat surfaces,
oh,
like
yeah.
flat surface people. What happens is a 3D person, and it comes in like, hey guys, I want to say hi, and then they look at this 3D person, but they can't see all of them. They can only see this little sliver that touches the paper. And he actually takes like a ink and he just stamps a piece of an apple and puts it there on the thing. And the 3D image can only see whatever the apple left.
Yeah.
On whatever it's stamped on. And that's kind of like how I think of it, right? These signs, we don't understand these signs. We don't know what these signs mean in actuality. We might think we do. Our gut and our mind and our heart might push us in certain directions, but at the end of the day, there is no factual conclusion behind these things. So what's to say that it isn't like some kind of fourth dimension of state that you're somehow somewhat like just inadvertently tapping into? Because I don't want to personally, like, I don't think that anything is. I don't think that there is somebody who is all being, or that, you know, there's this grand scheme of things and you're meant to do something. I genuinely think it's just a legitimate just roll of the dice of the numbers. And if it lands on you and you hit the jackpot, then you hit the jackpot. But I don't expect any kind of miracle in that instance. Even through what I've been through in life, I just think it was statistics for me to get out of every hard spot in my life, because it just wasn't my time statistically.
Really? You really believe that?
You
don't think that it was like anything that you had like built in you to like muscle through something?
Statistically, built on my past successes on getting through hard things. Statistically, you can do the math, the numbers. Speaking of like football, statistics show what like a good championship winning culture in a specific football.
So do you think that like you were like as you were born, you were already given like that statistic to make it through anything that you can get through? Or do you think like that you built it up, and because the amount of times you built it up, it kind of statistically says that, okay, he's gotten through this, this, and this, he'll probably just get through this too?
Well, no. I mean, like I said, like there's a whole bunch of randomness to it, which is what I'm trying to kind of hint that too. Like there isn't like somebody sending you a sign. Like it's just random. You pick with it what you choose. And in the dice, you either pick it up or you don't. Like what I think of too, how many signs did I not see? Like or it's not like how many signs did I see, but I just chose not to listen to them. How many signs did I truly not see? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, it's interesting because you can get like really paranoid with things too, you know, that way, I guess. An example is when I was in like junior high, my brother had a bunch of friends like always running around the house. So they had this big, huge BMX phase, and one of his friends got this like beautiful yellow bike. And they're always taking my bike too. So there was a time that the internet had just came out and we couldn't be on it all day long. We had to ride our bike to the library. When we rode our bike to the library, you can be in there, I think for like an hour, 2 hours, it depended, whatever, time limits. But I was trying to log on, and we had these cards, and you put your numbers in and your password in, and everything was lining up right. But for whatever reason, like it kicked me off 3 times, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like it's right. I don't get it. Like the 4th time, the 5th time, the 6th time, and I was like, I give up. There weren't any other computers at the time. It was just this one, and if I couldn't get this one to work, it was whatever. And so I ended up leaving, and when I got out there, the bike was gone. I had taken my brother's friend's bike. And it was just, that the reason that's seared in my brain always is because I felt like those were all signs. Like, go back, go get the bike, just go home. It's not your time to like look up whatever it is you need to look up. Who's saying it though? I have no idea. Like just the world just telling me like to just go. And I guess I can relate it to just growing up and, even relationships. People, they like to say like, oh, that was a red flag. And it's like, but you never really... For me, I never really took it. Like there were so many red flags in the last relationship I was in that I should have taken like the very first one. But whether or not I wanted to listen to it or not. And it's interesting because something you said to me was that, in relationships you can ride the roller coaster when you know it's not really going to last, knowing that it's going to crash and like burn at the end, and that it's going to crash hard and you're going to get burned hard. But if that's like the road you want to take.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. But I think too, as I'm trying to like, be a pioneer of learning and stuff, like, and questioning things, like, we've been saying on our podcast, what if there is no sign? In that retrospect, right?
Yeah.
Then for whatever reason, you just couldn't log on 3 times.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I would have never known there wasn't a camera. So I don't know if they took it during that time that I couldn't get in. Or if somebody had been following me there and then just saw that I didn't lock the bike up, and then they just took it literally the second I walked in. So you're right. No matter if I would have gone out the first time it didn't work, that bike could have been gone. But I don't know. Sometimes.
Or maybe you were destined to get signed off, because if you did walk out, that person would have killed you for that bike.
Jesus.
I know. You think and about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you want to go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah,
that's all I say. Like for me, I just think, like, it is what it is.
Let it be.
You just let it be.
Yeah.
I'm just thankful that, like, remember we took that car. I'm just thankful that we didn't get hurt. when these two dudes were like almost like knocked into us. So on my fault sometime. I didn't see that there was an intersection in the road and the car went. I'm just happy that we didn't get hurt. It wasn't no sign. It wasn't like it wasn't your time. Maybe it wasn't my time. But for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. So I'm just grateful that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And instead of like, oh, you should have
I
learned,
guess,
you know,
I guess it's good not to like necessarily like look back on things and like tearing them apart until you can't until you can kind of force kind of some sense into them. But sometimes, I don't know, sometimes maybe it just makes more sense to me to think of things as signs. But I guess at the end of the day, the things that I feature, the things that I highlight are more about me being wrong. And so I guess maybe just trying to take that as like a lesson.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's definitely like something important that, some people have their rules, I guess, that they follow to a certain extent. I think everyone has it to a certain extent. Their moral code, their guidelines, what keeps them kind of in check in a way, what keeps them, like you, right? Or even like me, there's some times where I think, some kind of higher intervention could have happened to me. As well as, I guess, like the older I get too, the more I try and put that into perspective and say like how much of that was like this all-seeing like God, or how much of that was just me really just breaking a barrier with myself and just kind of breaking through, or it could have been both. I guess we'll never know. The point is that I'm so thankful for being out, and I think the battery is about to die. So guys, this might be wrapped up a little quick. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night, or have a good morning, or have a good rest of your day, and we will see you again on the next time of Life of the Lost. All right, guys, sorry about that. Take care. Peace.